And this is Chelsea Internet Radio, and this is the Pick and Mix Show. And we have in the studio today my guest Phil, and the topics today will be in two parts. That will be tribute bands and is there any talent in Chelsea? Yes. Yes, hello listeners, and it is back with Pick and Mix, and this is March. It certainly is. I think it is, isn't it, Phil?
It certainly is.
Good, I'm hoping it was. And we've got to say that the music will be by Turnpike and Masquerade, and you've heard of neither of these. But as we go along in the show, you certainly will, okay? Tribute bands. Why do we call them tribute bands when they contribute almost nothing to the music scene and pay nothing to their heroes? We're going to investigate this with some reports, and we're going to have some live chat between me and Phil. But first we're going to go into a first piece of music.
You can see it all in the desert sun, in an eastern tune, or the western gun. When the backgrounds are wrong, there's different shades of pain, with the colors bleeding. Don't turn it up again. Lightning frightens the paper. You can hear him cry. You don't need papers to fear. When the children cry, you can see it all. You can see it all. Just like that, you can see it all. In the eyes of a crying baby. Israel sons fall down, and they throw it all against the waning wall. shades of pain, with the colours bleeding. Don't turn it off again. Lightning frightens the baby. You can hear him cry. You don't need papers to fear. When the children cry, you can see it all. You can see it all, just like that. You can see it all in the eyes of a crying baby. You can see it all. You can see it all, just like that. You can see it all in the eyes of a crying baby. You can see it all, just like that. You can see it all in the eyes of a crying baby.
And that was Turnpike, Blast from the Past, and in the band was Davy Johnston on guitar, Paul Westlake on guitar and vocals, Dennis Cowan on bass, I've heard of that name, Mick Weaver on keyboards, and Cozy Powell on drums. We now turn our attention to tribute bands. And let us look at a little bit of research on tribute bands. And research-wise, I approached the Musicians Union and the Performing Rights Society and PPL, mostly by email, and was absolutely surprised at what I got. I asked them all the same question: how much do tribute bands pay in royalties to their heroes? PRS thought it was some kind of joke, and I saw that they had labelled my inquiry LOL, laugh out loud, and were asking each other what was the classification for my query. Should it come under this? Well, I don't know. This went on for 3 emails. Wendy Hicken finally owned up and said they could not give a definitive answer because they only looked after the interests of composers and music publishers. Shortly after, I got an email from Liz, who wanted to remain anonymous, sorry Liz, saying that tribute bands paid nothing to the PRS because they couldn't be bothered to track them down and they weren't easy. In the silly games of messages, Wendy Hicken suggested I go to PPL, another music licensing authority, where I contacted radio licensing exec Charlotte Smith. PPL distributes money on behalf of performers and record companies for the use of their recorded music. Amazingly, Charlotte Smith said, "It's best you contact PRS for this," which was somewhat crazy and began to look like I was going around in circles. It was no use going back to PRS. PPL stands for Phonographic Performance Limited. I then approached the Musicians Union and got no joy whatsoever. So I put a call through to a London guy, Roland, who I knew worked with the MU. And he laughed at the suggestion that tribute bands would pay anything. He called them money grabbers, failed wannabes who couldn't hack it in covers bands and saw their opportunity to up the fees by imitating any name band without having to pay a penny for their tunes. He said the MU thought it a dead loss chasing these guys and had a policy of not interested. So the answer simply is they don't pay anything. What do you think about this, Phil?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, as we discussed earlier on, tribute bands make a lot more money than what they would call a covers band going around the clubs and the pubs, simply for the reason they can demand more money. Having said that, it's probably due to the fact that a lot of the bands from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even 90s, yes, have come and gone with one-hit wonders and what have you, disappeared.
Yeah.
But they have a fantastic fan base, so that they've latched onto this and they've dressed like them and, idolised the music. So therefore they are creaming off the backs of the true professional, if you like. But they're doing really well at it. Some are really good, some are really bad.
But would you say they're devoted to the act they actually take their persona from?
Well, again, some are and some aren't. So the ones that are devoted devote their lives to it full time, and they will travel the depths and depths of the world, to be seen, especially if they're good. But then you do get, as I say, you get on the other side of the coin, you get the tribute bands, which are absolutely diabolical, where you go along and
They don't even look.
They don't
like
look or sound or anything like. But the trouble is with the tribute band is doing so well is because a lot of the bands that we listen to in the 60s, 70s and 80s all cannot perform like they used to. But the tribute bands have actually, done a Mickey take there, if you like, a mimicking to a really high degree. So...
Right, did you know, Phil, there's a tribute band in Chelsea?
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's led by someone called John. Apparently a kind of Rolling Stones thing.
Right, cool.
Well, having said that, I come to a little thing of my neighbour as a tenant who happens to be the bass player. And one day she came down as I arrived back from London. I was in my garage and she came down and she said to me, my tenant is a musician like you. You've got something in common. And I looked at her and I said, no, we haven't got anything in common. Not at all. I don't play covered stuff. And I definitely do not rip off the Stones. What do you think to that one?
Very good question, very deep. Well, if you're just a tribute band to a famous band, then I don't think how he can even compare to someone that has lived the life of a professional musician in a much higher plane.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it can come near to what I've done.
Well, definitely not. It's nice for all these guys to imagine, big time and everything else, but they've got to do it on their own back, I'm afraid, not on the back of other bands that have been there before them.
Exactly. I mean, one of the things that I constantly get is that apart from dreaming the dream that they are these particular bands, they begin to believe it themselves.
Well, sure, Dennis, but is that a bad thing in some respects? Because if they actually start to believe they are them, then perhaps the performances become fantastic as well.
Not what I heard.
Oh, well, I can't comment on that. I've not heard
No,
them.
no, what I heard. I heard that the arrogance actually outweighs anything like that, and they start to because they go to these gigs that, and I think we discussed this once, that a covers band takes what, 300 for a night.
Well, they used to, Dennis. They used to, not anymore.
Yeah, but
probably on a Saturday night or on a special occasion, like a New Year's Eve or something like that, they might be able to demand a little bit more. But I would have thought the run of the mill is between sort of £200 and £300 these days on a Friday and Saturday night for a band.
Yeah, what's a tribute band?
A tribute band will be doing £500-600, I should think.
Up to I've heard it goes up to 1,000.
Well, absolutely. It would easily go up to 1,000 if you're doing special occasion work and stuff like that. But you see, they can demand this money purely because they're dressing up.
Yeah, in their wigs and
yeah, exactly.
and playing every chord
Exactly.
that top band has actually created.
Yeah, sure. But as I said earlier on in the interview, that some of these bands that were around in the 50s, 60s, 70s, they, although there are some still about, they can't perform the music like they used to. But half of these tribute bands that have taken them on as their gods or whatever you like to call them, probably can perform them better than the originals now. Which probably is something that you don't want to hear, but it's just a fact. Only if you get a good one.
I'm not going to say anything to that, Phil. But I will repeat what the Keith Hartley trumpet player said, Dave Caswell. They're leeches. He had a complete hatred on them. He didn't want to play in one. He didn't want to see one. And even Keith Richards has never seen a penny.
Well, no, I think that's the area where I think it's really wrong. I think if you are going to be a tribute band to a specific act, whether it be the Stones, whether it be the Beatles, and the most covered one, of course, is Elvis.
Yes,
which is by a million miles. I think they should be paying some sort of royalty.
I completely agree.
Absolutely, there must be some sort of royalty there. I think if you're going out as a covers band and you're covering everybody's music, then fair enough, you're doing one or two songs of theirs and you're trying to make an entertaining evening for everybody. But if you're purely a covers band and you are emulating your heroes or whatever, you really should be paying some sort of royalty. End of, really.
Yeah. I mean, do you think they come to sort of form a tribute band from really that liking of them, or do you think it's the money?
Well, it's got to start with the liking of it, I think, first and foremost. I think there's always one member of a band that will say, I want to become Mick Jagger, or I want to become Keith Richards, I want to become Cliff Richard.
Or ABBA. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Cliff.
But
you know what I'm saying. Once you've got one's got the idea, and then he can form the band around him. I think a tribute band is something that grows. It's something that grows from a seed, like anything. Someone's got the idea. Someone's got a little bit of talent, puts it out there, puts a band together. As I said, sometimes it works really, really well. Sometimes it doesn't.
But there's an awful lot of them, Phil.
There are an awful lot of them.
I mean, in every town there must be a tribute band to something.
Well, you surprised me tonight, Dennis, because I didn't know there was a Stones tribute band in Selsey.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Where have they been hiding? That's the question. Where have they been hiding?
Yes. Yes.
So, what can I say? I've never heard of them. I've never seen them. I mean, do you know what name they go under? And
Well, I won't actually give them an
right,
advert
okay,
here.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I won't boost them.
No, fair enough.
Right, we're going to go on to the next piece of music. Yes, and that was Masquerade, and the band were Mickey Finn on guitar, Ian Wallace on drums, Dennis Cowan again on fretless bass, and Mackenzie Brooks on vocals. We shall be having the last one from them later after the next subject, and that one will be called Richard Burton. The one you have just heard was called Melancholy Baby, and the first track that you heard was You Can See It All. We now come to the next part, which is there any music talent in Selsey? And this is quite a puzzler. I'm not convinced, and there are reasons for this which I will go into later. I have heard cries of, oh yes there is, but seen no proof of it. In fact, I've had no single act or band suggested or named, and I've had my ear to the ground, so to speak, for 3 years now. One defence offered was that they may not meet my criteria or recordable quality, but that they were good on a semi-pro level around the local scene, which is all well and good, I accept that, but stay away from thinking you can hack it in the recording industry. You need talent, extraordinary talent, vision, and above all, commitment. Create Records, when it started in 2011 to 2012, advertised in Gumtree 4 times, band mixed twice, and issued a shop poster in the high street for a month. The result was nothing. No calls, no emails. When we eventually got a response, they mostly came in from Brighton, Worthing, Lancing, the Bognor area, Littlehampton, and even London. I was advised to go and see Nick Davidson at the Music Academy near Chichester rail station, and because Mark Ringwood of Wemford suggesting it, I thought I'd at last found a supply of raw talent that I could shape and use. But no, after my visit, I got an email saying he was very sorry to tell me that we have nothing to hear for you, well, at least not for a couple of years or so, and wish me well. During my search for that special something, I did know one guy in the local music scene who had been trying to get a band going for well over 2 years, but even now he's still in the forming stage, writing and doing some home jam sessions, but basically remaining unready and still looking for musicians. From time to time, I called around at his place and saw a young guy, one a drummer from the Witterings, but he didn't stay long and never contacted me when I said I might be able to use him. A young guitarist seemed promising, so I invited him for a chat, letting the other guy know I was doing so. That proved to be an absolute waste of time. He did all the nodding in the right places and said he was up for the challenge, and after 10 days or so I heard nothing and he was gone. I've now stopped looking at the guys who visit his sessions. My current artists are solid name acts besides a newcomer from The Voice who came from London. And I have other artists who come even from as far as Dundee in Scotland. I just keep hoping I may stumble across a raw unknown with oodles of untried talent, one who wasn't tainted by the X Factor or talent auditions, someone who can rival One Direction, say, Will Young, Bruno Mars. Other than that, I will look at acts that can guarantee me that they have a fan club with more than 500 in it and have a huge, even moderate Twitter following. And I've done some gigs at least. What do you think about this, Phil? Let's include you in on this, about talent in Selsey.
Well, as you know, Dennis, I've played semi-professional music for over 38 years in the local clubs and pubs and surrounding area, and as far afield as Brighton, London, anywhere. And I came to Selsey 4 years ago. I had given up the music for a while, decided that I wanted to start it up again. So I put an advert out for a lead guitarist to form a duo with. And it was up for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I had absolutely no response whatsoever. Now, you can't tell me there isn't a guitarist in Selsey.
There's got to be, hasn't there?
There has to be. There has to be.
I mean, the whole of this area has got several thousand people. Must have.
Absolutely.
And if we look at, let's say, young, or maybe slightly older, there's got to be some that are the right age and have been playing quite a while.
What, you mean like our age dug up?
No, I haven't been called dug up, Phil. Not at this stage. Maybe last night I was.
No, you know what it's like, Dennis. It's not just about finding the right person, is it? It's finding the person that's also reliable. As you know, people just don't tend to give you any sort of form of commitment for whatever reason that is. They might turn up once, might turn up twice. Okay, I haven't had anybody, but you know that scenario so well, Dennis. You've got nobody that comes forward that wants to be committed, and I think that's the big word, is commitment.
Well, I can't. One of the things I can't understand is they go along, let us say, to this other guy's jam session, and they get into it, they play the thing, and he says to them, "See you next week." But 2 weeks down the line,
Nothing's heard.
they're not there.
No. Well, why?
I mean, why go into music with such a terrible attitude of, well, it doesn't really matter.
Take it or leave it, yeah. No, it's in your blood or it's not, isn't it? I mean, you're either committed to doing what you're doing or you're not committed. And unfortunately, people around here just don't seem to be committed to it, And I'm talking music scene.
Well, I mean, I look at this sort of thing. Let's say they want to go into a cover band. That's all very well. If that's as far as they want to go, to just a cover band, then yeah. But even cover bands must need some degree of keeping together.
Oh, absolutely. You need total commitment. I mean, you've got, whether a cover band or whether a tribute band, as we were talking about earlier, you've still got to rehearse. You still have to be tight with what you're doing, and that means you've got to rehearse regularly.
I mean, how many numbers do you need, sort of, in a cover band to do the set? What is a set?
Well, most clubs expect 3 45-minute sets.
3 45 minute
sets. So you're probably looking at about 13 tracks to 14 tracks per set.
Each set, so that's over 30 songs.
Absolutely.
Well, you can't do them in 2 weeks.
No. You're probably talking over 40 songs actually, but you can't do them in 2 weeks.
And we're talking about 2 weeks getting them to sound.
Oh yeah,
performed.
Absolutely. The nice thing with being a duo, of course, you two guitarists can work closely together. Rhythm guitarist and a lead guitarist playing to backing tracks is great. And if you've got a band, I mean, it's even bigger commitment, because obviously you've got to get everything. You've got a bass player there, you've got a keyboard player there, you've got a drummer there, lead guitarist, rhythm guitarist, and you've got several vocals as well. You've got a lot of commitment there and a lot of time rehearsing.
But I mean, when you come to, let us say, Celsey itself, where do these guys play? If they are musicians, where do they play?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think if there are, and there must be musicians in Celsey, they're not playing in Celsey. They're playing in Portsmouth. They're playing in Brighton. They're playing in London. They're travelling. They're travelling out of the area.
Well, I find that incredible, really. Yeah. Especially as we've got the Smugglers' Day thing, which is now in August, and we've had no Celsey replies.
No, we've got to do something about that, haven't we?
This is 2 weeks, and yes, listeners, yes, I am the music director on this one, and there has been no replies to this studio from anyone in Celsey.
No, Celsey guys, come on, we need the acts out there, whether you be a single artist, whether you be a duo, whether you be a trio, whether you be a band. We need your help for Smugglers' Day. And as you know, Smugglers' Day is being combined with the Carnival this year. So it's going to be a great day for everybody, but we really need some musicians.
Right, thank you, Phil. I think we can't really get any more out of Celsey, and is there any talent? So we will go to the next piece of music.
Richard Burton meets who do you think I fool?
That's in line!
Richard Burton! Richard Burton! Richard Burton, that is! Songs from the other grave! To be or not to be! Richard Burton! Richard Burton, that is! Songs from the other grave! Richard Burton. 13 blind horses. Horses for courses. Jimmy and Sam of Richard Burton. Richard Burton meets Rex It's a full hairdresser with alopecia. Elizabeth Taylor, standing on the graveside. Good morning, give us a song in the morning, Richard.
Give us a song, Richard.
Give us a song, Richard. A song. A song from behind the grave.
Yes, and that was Masquerade with Mickey Finn, Ian Wallace, Dennis Cowan, and Mackenzie Brooks doing the most weird session. We're nearing the end of this show now, and I would like to sort of go on one thing that I found out, and that was PRS, who didn't come out of this inquiry well at all, as I found many people, small businesses, rather annoyed with the antics the organisation get up to, with many complaints, and they had a huge list calling PRS bullies who went after easy targets, and this certainly looked to be the case. The UK Business Forum had some very strong views on the subject and told us PRS used a sneaky cold calling method of not revealing who they were, just merely doing a survey, which popped in the bit, "Do you have a radio on?" Basically, this was a trap to get the recipient to own up to playing music on their premises, fully knowing they had phoned at a shop, etc., and then a bill would arrive. What do you think to PRS, Phil?
Well, PRS responsible for a lot of things, to be perfectly honest with you. Calling in, cold calling like that and saying, are you playing a radio in a workplace? Everybody listens to radio in a workplace. It's as simple as that. But when they call in on you like that, guys, you can expect a bill because they want their licence fee. Because you can't play music in public unless you have a licence. And this is their sneaky way of doing it. So be safe and make sure you know who you're talking to.
Well, I think that covers it. Phil put his finger absolutely on it. And I would like to, at this stage, thank Phil for coming in for this month's show and now tell you about next month's show. Next month, we have the topics Builders and Astronomy after Patrick. Builders' boobs, bad work, the £600 fee paid for the Checkatrade badge of approval, bad reviews that go missing, and where is the Astronomy Club of Selsey? Why is there a void, and does Selsey care? So it's bye for now, and out we go with my theme, and we'll see you next month.